I was reading a book recently, and the author was speaking about her experiences encountering dark entities. And I got so mad at the author, at the writing, at the book, because leading up to speaking about her experiences, and these were dark entities, these were very dark and strong energies. And leading up to her sharing this experience, she didn't protect the reader. She didn't give any normal reader the understanding and awareness around what she was about to speak about and the importance of protecting your energy. I got so mad that I had to close the book, stop reading, and I had to set my own energetic boundaries. Now, I know how to do that, but not everyone who picked up this specific book, because it's like an entry kind of book, not everyone who picked up that book would have the knowledge, would have the understanding, would have the wherewithal, the knowing to do that, to stop, to pause, to set those boundaries. And then I was able to proceed with reading, and it, the rest of the book was awesome and really great, but I got so furious at her. And not just that, but multiple other things that I've encountered have led me to feel that this video is super important. So I hope that you have found this video for a reason, and that this video is helpful and helps you to understand really, truly, the whole message of this video is that you are in control. You have full control always when you are practicing and experimenting and connecting with energies. Okay, so that was a little bit of a tangent. And this work can be incredibly beautiful and light and educational and helpful. And it can be very, very powerful. And powerful can be of the light, and it can be of the dark. So please use your connections, use your gifts wisely, use your intuition a lot, especially if you're working with other practitioners. So it makes sure that if you are working with someone else, that you and your intuition can trust that person, that you feel safe with them, with the connections they're making, and with the boundaries that they're setting, and creating the intention for a clear reading. Also, please make sure that you are grounding and protecting your energy, and that you're setting your intentions and your boundaries before, during, and after any of these practices. Now, don't worry, this video is going to get into what I mean by that. So let's keep going with all of this super fun information. And you know the drill. If you like the content, give it a thumbs up. Click on the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know every time I post a new video. And let's keep going with this energetic information. I'm going to share just a little personal backstory here. I always felt like I should have been the child that saw spirits, or heard things that go bump in the night, or had that visual or auditory experience of entities and spirits and energies. Because I always knew how to set boundaries and how to speak about and communicate about these entities. I do sometimes wonder if that's exactly the reason why I never saw or heard any of these spiritual energies, because at some point I had intuitively set these boundaries and they were strong. So I never had those reaffirming experiences. And to be completely honest, I've felt out of place and like I can't trust my knowing because I didn't have those reaffirming visual or auditory experiences. I know that sounds weird, but that's been my experience. Now, that said, if a friend ever mentioned anything about a spirit or an entity or an energy, I knew exactly what they needed to do, how to talk about it, how to walk them through their process for connecting or sending it away or setting their boundaries. Whatever needed to happen, I knew what needed to happen, and I was able to share that and not blink an eye that my friend was talking about some dark entity sitting on the edge of their bed before they went to sleep at night. So what I've learned as I've grown up is that at some point in time, I set these boundaries. These boundaries were strong. As a child, if anything kind of weird shifted, I was able to reset those boundaries. I can talk to my friends about it. And now, as I have really stepped further into my own spiritual practice and my own ability to connect, I've realized that those are exactly what I needed, and I'm also able to share what those are. So even though I likely set them unconsciously as a child, I actually now know what they are and how to work with them. So in this video, I am going to be sharing with you some tools and some practices that I know to be true, I know to work, and I know to be important to utilize when you're working with these energies, or if you are naturally open as a vessel out in your everyday life and you need to set some day-to-day boundaries. So firstly, you are currently and always in control. This work is exhilarating. It's exciting. That moment when you're like, oh my gosh, I can connect. And you start to feel and allow these connections to happen is so exciting. And it draws you in. And we open and we open and we open and we have no idea what we're connecting with or how much energy of ours it's going to use. We are confined by these human physical forms, and our energy is confined in this amount of space. So we connect and we open and we don't know what we're opening to. We don't set those boundaries. We get excited and then we exhaust ourselves. So as exciting as it is, I deeply encourage you to build up this practice over time and to allow yourself to connect in small doses and to be clear in your intentions. Don't worry, I'm getting there. I have steps. We're getting to those very tangible pieces. First, I want to talk about kind of like the two types of people that I've encountered when it comes to this type of work. So the first person is that person who has always been open. There's something about their energy, their light, their spirit that energies are just drawn towards. It's like they are a light in the night and energies just flock to them. And for whatever reason, they never set up boundaries or they never created open hours like business hours or office hours. So they're doing their life and they're driving along the highway and all of a sudden something pops up and freaks them out. Like it's not safe. So it's also not conducive to doing the human thing. So whether intentionally or unintentionally, consciously or unconsciously, you are one of those people. Your first piece of work is to start to create the boundaries that indicate who you are willing to work with and when you are willing to do that work and how you are willing to connect. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about that specifically in just a little bit. And the second type of person who I've encountered is the one who is remembering or intrigued by and getting really curious about these gifts. And this person is that likely to be the person who just opens all the way up. And because they're so excited. So they go in with intention and then their intention disappears somewhere along the lines because they just get so excited for what they're about to be doing and what they're up to, and they kind of like lose their boundaries somewhere along the lines. So setting up your boundaries, whether you are someone who is naturally open or has stepped into this work, helps you not only just like trust your day-to-day life and live your human life, It also helps you to trust what connections, what entities, what spirits you are connecting with, so that those dark ones that I talked about at the beginning know that you are not someone to be messed with. Quick side note, actually, there was some dark entity kind of like hanging around my front door at some point, and I was like, no, we don't do this. This does not happen in my space. So I set my intention, did some smudging, cleared it out. Thankfully, it hasn't come back. But having those boundaries, like, I was like, oh, you are not something that I mess with. You are not something to come into this space. Out you go. And we set it on its very little way. Merry little way. So really the whole theme here is you are in control. You are in control of who you connect with, when you connect with them, how you connect with them, and when they are allowed to come into your energetic field. So the tangible part. I'm going to speak about these boundaries from generic and general through to more specific and while you're actually connecting. So a general boundary can be something that you do every single day. It can be a daily practice. It can be as you walk into an office space. It can be something that you do if you're going to like an event and you know that there's going to be a lot of different people around you. It's basically just an extra layer of protection for your energy inside of you and others' energies to stay outside of your energetic field. And general boundaries are wise for all of us to practice on a daily basis, no matter what other practices we have in play. These are just basic, good to do kind of things. And here's just a few examples of what they can look like. So you can imagine wrapping yourself in a bubble of light. So just sort of like around your space, you can imagine kind of like a bubble coming down, connecting at your feet, and then you can also pull it back up and kind of stitch it up at the top. Or you can connect it up and down as though it's connecting up to like the upper world as well as to the earth plane. I actually have kind of a deeper explanation and a guide through that type of bubble in my chakra meditation video, which I will link in the description box below. The second example is one that's super similar, but essentially it's like wrapping yourself in a cloak or a sweater or like a shawl. This is something that you can do kind of like when you're going into an environment with other people. You can imagine yourself being wrapped up in this cloak, and essentially same thing. It locks your energy within you and protects it within you, and it keeps others' energies outside of your space. And then the third one is one that I personally use if I'm going to sleep and something is nagging at me. If there's like a weird image that flashes through my mind, or if I have some worries or some fears that are happening, in my bed I will imagine as if a gold blanket were, and it's like a weighted blanket, like a gold weighted blanket, were like covering me up, and everything positive and light is inside of that gold blanket, and anything that is fearful or not, that's not going to serve me for my nice, calm, meditative sleep, goes outside of that blanket. So any fears or worries or any kind of like entities that I'm not feeling comfortable with can be pushed outside of it. And it is, again, I am in control of this experience, and I will put things outside of that blanket, or I'll slide the blanket between me and those things. So it's a very conscious and controlled experience that I put myself through in that. Slightly more specific, let's say that you have an oracle deck or a tarot deck that you like to work with, some type of spiritual practice. It could be working with crystals or something that you kind of do, but it's a tangible something. And whatever that happens to be, you want to make sure that you are setting some intentions prior to working with that energy. This is where we get into like Ouija boards. People went in, they're like, let's just have fun, and weird things happened. So when it comes to working with your cards or working with your crystals, it can be really wise to take a moment, pause, breathe, connect to your heart, bring yourself into that present moment and allow your heart to maybe even like rephrase the question that you're bringing to whatever it is that you're utilizing. And then from there, you notice what is calling out to you. When it comes to using Oracle or Tarot, it's just how I do it. I just shuffle and shuffle and shuffle until all of a sudden something is like this one. And it takes me a while. And it's not the most practical way of using cards, but I use them for myself. So I just find it to be kind of fun to do it that way, and it works for me. But if you actually do card readings, it's not the most practical way of doing it, because I can be sitting there shuffling for a decent amount of time sometimes. Now let's talk a little bit more about what I mean when I say open for business. Like when you are working with these energies, when you are connecting to your intuition or to your ability to connect to other entities or energies or spirits, you are in control. General theme of this video. And it's important for you to set your business whenever you are open up for what works for you. So if you are currently just naturally very open, or if you had kind of like a spiritual awakening break that was really like abrupt and all of a sudden you became open, the first thing for you to do is you sort of like recognize the entity or the energy, and then you send like your energy to it, and you're like, I see you. Now is not the time that we're going to be working together. I will direct when I have space for this, when I am in a space to connect. Now, off you go. And some energies can be really persistent. So it's really important that you are consistent with like, now's not the time, I'm not open, I will open myself up, I will create the environment, I will create my availability. Again, the whole theme here is you are in control. They might be persistent, but you have no need to open yourself up to them. You can say, now's not the time. I will let you know when the time it is. Off you go on your way. And then, because you kind of have this ability anyway, and then for all of us as well, it's really important to set kind of like a routine or a practice around opening yourself up. So it's not a willy-nilly all over the time, I'm always open kind of experience. It's I do these things, this is when I'm open, I then do whatever I'm gonna do, I ground myself afterwards, I close off the practice, I disconnect my energy, and I move on with the rest of my human day. So some options for how you might create that routine could be as simple as just having a spot that you normally sit at. For me, I sit in the corner of my couch, I open up my laptop, or I have a journal. I actually have noticed I really prefer just my laptop. Weird, but whatever. It could be as simple as that. It could also be creating a cup of tea, smudging, getting some crystals in place, using some decks, whatever it happens to be that draws your attention and your awareness to, this is me preparing and being ready to connect. So play around with what rituals work best for you. As I said, I know most people do it by handwriting, and one day I was like, I'm gonna use my laptop, and I started using my laptop, and I much prefer it. No judgment, just play around with what works for you. And then when you actually enter into this time where you are ready to connect and you are sitting there, it's important that you set an intention. And this happens before, anytime during that you might feel out of control or that you're not where you need to be, and at the end as well. So a beginning connection could look something or sound something, or this is, I use something along the lines of, I intend to only connect with the beings of light and for the highest and greatest good of me and everyone involved. Please let me be an open vessel for the messages that need to come through. And please allow for my ego to step to the side and for my humanness and my human expectations to step aside so I can receive the messages that I need to receive in this moment. Please allow these messages to be received and integrated with grace, balance, and ease. And please allow these messages to be shared in a way that I can understand and that serve me and what I am here to accomplish in my highest and greatest good. Now, I say something along those lines at any particular point in time, typically when I'm starting off a meditation or a practice, but if there's any time during, I might also reconnect. I might also give myself that time to reconnect into my body, to ground, to settle. I might ask questions while I'm in some type of practice, and maybe that's a little bit where we're going to go in part 2 of who knows how many parts of this video. So if you want to know more about that, or if there's any other questions that you have about energetic boundaries, spiritual boundaries, working with energies, please do leave comments down below, as well as ask some questions that you want additional information on. And please share your experiences with how you set your boundaries, or maybe forgetting to set a boundary and the experience that you had there. And yeah, I'm really curious about some of your experiences with all of that. Now, before I wrap up completely, I really do want to also talk quickly about what happens after. So after a practice, after I have intentionally connected, I come back into my body and I reground, and that can look like just imagining like energy pulling down through my body, or sometimes it kind of feels like a dot matrix printer and it's like loading my energy into my body as I go. That one, especially if I feel really disconnected, I feel like that dot matrix printer, because it's slower, has a much more like loading, grounding, intense energy to pull my body, my spiritual body back into my physical body. So afterwards, make sure that you are pulling yourself back in. I always love to have a quick sip of water, or get up and have something to eat, or get out in nature, ground my feet, ground my hands. But it depends on how far you've gone, and it depends on how open you are. So sometimes it's just like, okay, yep, I'm back in, cool, awesome, done. Recognize and notice, like, how much do you need to bring yourself back in? Then that general everyday boundary of protecting yourself in a bubble or wrapping yourself in a cloak work absolutely fantastically to pull you back in. If you've been working with any outside energies, it's really important to like break that energy, to pull your energy back into you and to push the other energies away from you. You could also imagine cutting a cord or a tie. We can get into all of that. So let me know in the comments section where you want me to go with this next. What additional information do you want shared in this type of energy content, and especially when it has to do with connecting and boundaries. But any other energy content that you are interested in, any more Akashic record content that you're interested in, definitely let me know in the comment section down below. As you know, if you like this content, give it a thumbs up and share it out. You can tag me on Instagram as well. Click that subscribe button and the notification bell, and I will see you in the comment section and in the next video.